Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. If you like my video, please like and subscribe. Also check me out on Twitch as Floyd Mason.
Hello, welcome back, Spooks fans. We are back, and it is time for another Goosebumps book review. And now we're on to book number 8, The Girl Who Cried Monster. Pretty interesting cover. I mean, we'll get more into it at the end, but yeah, you basically got your main character kind of hiding back here. We'll quickly find out this is kind of the main villain of the story, if we can call him that. Again, we'll get into it. It's a cool color scheme. Nice red pop there. Have the reprint one as well. Again, I don't tend to like these ones as well, and this one especially, I don't really care for. Just the light blue. Like, this one's got such a nice dark purple color that matches kind of the picture. This one feels a little odd. I feel like they should have done a purple background, but again, we'll see what I actually think of the cover itself at the end. I also want to call out last video, for some reason I did the entire video with my headphones on. Don't know why. I put them on initially always to kind of try and check my sound a little, and just didn't take them off. So did the whole thing with them on. Looked like a fool. Wasn't listening to anything. But just want to call out. It was really weird to me watching that back and being like, what am I doing? But yeah. So this book, is kind of a spoiler at the start of it. We're going to talk about all of it anyways. If you're watching these videos, I spoil them. I like to talk about all the parts of it. It's really the only way I can do a book review. I know some people are good at just kind of, painting around it and telling their feelings, but I like to talk about what happens. But this book is basically, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, is what it is. It should be pretty obvious in The Girl Who Cried Monster. But that's basically what the story is. A character who is known for faking things and doesn't. But we'll get through it. So the main character in this book is a girl named Lucy. And then it has a couple side characters. So it has her brother Randy. It has her friend Aaron. And it has her parents as well, in and out. And then it has the villain, Mr. Mortman. So basically, the start of this book kind of builds on the premise that Lucy loves monsters. She's kind of obsessed with them. It's all she talks about. It starts with her hanging with her brother and just kind of, convincing him that there's this monster called the Toe Biter, and one of the neighbor girls, like, it snuck through the grass and bit off her toes, and then she kind of just plays up. It's like, oh, like, do you hear something? And then she kind of sticks her toes into the dirt, and so when her brother looks like her toes are missing, and she screams, and brother freaks out and runs inside. So it just kind of builds this thing, like, off the start, like, she loves monsters, she loves to prank her brother, which is a big kind of running storyline throughout. And again, it's kind of that parallel to the Boy Who Cries Wolf, where she always just is like, oh, there's monsters, there's a monster here, there's a monster there, especially to her brother. She then immediately gets scared by her friend Aaron, who sneaks up behind her and just puts a hand on her. And so to get him back, she again plays up a monster that's one in a tree, and she gets a broom and knocks a bird's nest onto him, freaking him out. So again, Stein's just kind of building up that she's a prankster, that, she does this constantly to everyone, so that when she feels like she saw a real one, no one's going to believe her, which you're kind of like knowing right away, especially if you're aware of the old story. You're kind of feeling that coming. So Mom lectures her about Randy thing, and again, that's a running theme throughout the book, is that the parents are just tired of it. They're, stop scaring your brother, stop talking about monsters, we do not care. I feel like he kind of, along with the book before Night of the Living Dummy, he kind of had that same, like, maybe his head was still in the same place, but it's just a thing of, like, this thing going on that's mystical, and the main character explained to the parents, and the parents basically being like, I do not care, stop, leave me alone. In Night of the Living Dummy, they kept being like, if you talk about the dummies, we're going to take them away. And this one, it's like, stop talking about monsters, you will be grounded, leave your brother alone. So after she gets in trouble for that, she has basically, Mr. Mortman is the town librarian, and she's part of a program called, I think it's Reading Rangers, something like that, some kind of name like that, and she's late. So she's supposed to read Huckleberry Finn, she hadn't, but she's got to rush off. She grabs her rollerblades so she can get there in time, and she goes to the library. So Stein does a really good job of kind of explaining what the library looks like. It's kind of like it's built into an old house, I think, kind of thing, like just an older manor. So it kind of has this creepy house feel, but it's a library, which I think is really cool. I remember reading it, and one thing that I liked about this book when I first read it was he really gives off this creepy library house vibe, where a lot of the story kind of takes place. And then he has her describe Mr. Mortman and just kind of makes him gross. Like, where his hands are always wet and he's just kind of like buggish and like, just kind of like a rounder kind of guy. And just this like honestly, I think, they nailed this cover. Like when I read it, like I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I pictured him as. Just kind of, not to be too mean, because obviously people look like this and they're great people, but he looks creepy in this photo. And so she goes in, she kind of fakes her way through her book report, and she leaves, and she realizes when she's almost home that she forgot her rollerblades. So she's like, I gotta go back and get them. She sneaks in, and it's by this time the library's like closed. And she sees Mr. Mormon, and he's got turtles, like he kind of keeps turtles behind the desk, and she sees him kind of going to feed them, and he's got like jars of flies, which she assumes, he feeds them, like they're turtles, they'll eat live bugs. But as she's kind of watching him, he transforms into a monster and just starts eating handfuls of the flies. Now this is another one, again, that I remember pretty vividly reading as a kid, and again, it has a pretty decent episode. And so it's one that I remember quite well, and just being disgusted by this one. I get a little grossed out with that kind of thing, and like this one definitely as a kid, just grossed me out. So she kind of freaks out, she sneaks away, she runs out, realizes again that she forgot her rollerblades, goes back and it's locked. Don't really know why he had to add the second thing in, just kind of filler of like, oh my god, I have to go back in again. And I think like this build up, it's like, hold your breath and go back in, and then it's locked and she can't go in. So basically, this is when she starts telling people. So I think she tells her parents first, I believe, and they just don't believe her. And one part I really don't like about this story is, and it's kind of similar to, again, there's a lot of parallels between this story and kind of what happens in Night of the Living Dummy, where they're telling people and she's getting very angry that no one believes her. And it's kind of a thing of like, yeah, but you lie all the time, so you should get it. But she's a kid, I get it, but like a lot of the story is just her getting very angry at her family and friends for not believing her when she tells like a monster story a week. So they just, again, they don't believe her. They're basically like, no, that's not right. So then like she kind of starts telling Randy about it later, because he asks, and like she tells them, oh, it's Mr. Mortman, so it's like a real person. And so he's kind of, and her dad gets super angry at her, which I would get, right? Like if you think your daughter's scaring somebody, but also like scaring them against just a seemingly nice person from the town just to scare him, it's like, no, don't do it to your brother. So she kind of decides what she needs to do is she needs to get her friend Aaron to come with her as well. She wants to sneak back to see him again, and if Aaron also sees him, he'll tell her parents and they will believe him. They have no reason to doubt Aaron, so that's kind of her plan. It's a really weird part when she goes to see if Aaron will come with her, and he's playing with something, and Stein kind of describes it as like a one-person frisbee, and I've never heard of anything like it. And it's one of those weird things in a book. They're like, what the hell are they talking about? I can't even picture how it works. It's some kind of rubber band thing. But anyways, yeah. So she's playing with that. She's going to have Aaron come with her. Then she goes to her next reading ranger thing, and she's supposed to read Frankenstein, which like she wanted to read. I think she said she got like halfway through it, which for her is really good. You think a whole book of monsters she got through, but anyways. she keeps like kind of dropping hints about how she likes the monsters and what if monsters are real, and trying to gauge if Mr. Mormon, because she wasn't sure the first time if he heard her run out or anything like that, and just trying to like needle him a bit, and he's just like, oh no, monsters don't exist, Lusa, like you don't have to worry about that. So she kind of does all that, and then she sneaks off and she hides and waits till for it to close. So again, she's kind of watching for him, just kind of waiting, and he finally becomes a monster again. Then there's a really dumb scene in this part too. It's when she's hiding, she hears him lock the door, and she's like, "Oh my god, like I'm locked in." And she stays and like watches them, and then she runs, and I think this time he definitely hears her, and she gets to the door, and she's like, "Oh my god, right, he locked the door," and it's just like not a key lock, it's just a normal lock, so she just unlocks it because she's inside, and that's how locks work. And so it's one of those ones, it's like, I guess as a kid you might be like, oh my god, what's she gonna do? But as an adult, I'm like, yes, unlock the door, what are you doing, get out of there. Yeah, she unlocks it, she runs away, she kind of had to be on a tree, and she peeks out, and like she sees him, and he's not sure, she's not sure at this point if he saw her. He was definitely aware that somebody was there this time. And she got a little tripped up because of the door like taking longer. Also in this one, she watches them eat a turtle, and it is disgusting. Like, if you like kind of like a little bit of a gory stuff, like the description of it's pretty gross. As a kid, I was like, it was pretty gross. Even as an adult, I was like, oof, just skip this paragraph. But yeah, just kind of showing, that he doesn't just eat the flies, like he also eats kind of like animals as well, or reptiles, whatever, turtles. So again, she's running back. She tells Aaron, I think he's like untangling his one person frisbee because it's broken, and he still doesn't believe her. And again, she gets like super upset at him, and again, it's, why should he believe you? You lie all the time. So she's just mad about that. She's very angsty about everything and no one believing her. And then later, either that night or the next day, Mr. Mortman actually shows up at her house, and she's like, oh my god, like he knows, he caught me, and he's just returning her backpack. So it is the thing where at this point you kind of get the feeling that he knows Shantor, and he's trying to like feel out if she knows anything, and because he, again, at this point, he's pretty sure that somebody was in there the second time. I think it was pretty obvious. I think he's, like, well aware. But he doesn't know it's her, and he doesn't want to, like, lead on to suspicion. Oh, sorry. I was wrong before. The second time she doesn't get Aaron to agree to come, it's the third time. So she goes back again, a third time, and this time she takes a camera to take his picture. Because, she wants to be sure and like do it, and Aaron says he can come, and then she gets there and he had a dentist appointment, doesn't show up. So again, she sneaks in, she gets close, she waits till he transforms, she takes the picture, and the flash goes off. So he's very much alerted, she freaks out, she's trying to run away, she almost gets trapped, and there's a part where he knocks over a card catalog, and he kind of screams in anguish, and he stops to start picking them up. And I can't remember the exact line, but something like, oh, like he might be a monster, but he's also a librarian. And it's like, oh, okay. All right, Stein. Like, I think the monster would catch her first and then go back and clean up the card catalog. But yeah, so at this point, she's taking the picture. He definitely saw somebody. Again, it's not clear. She doesn't know if he saw her. Like, he's definitely aware someone was there. But it's dark and she's kind of running around. So she convinces her parents to go get it. And there's the big thing where, like, oh, she wants to go to the mall, and they don't want to, but then they agree to go get, like, Chinese food, and then she's waiting for them to eat, and she finally goes to the picture place, and she doesn't have enough money, and she has to go get her dad. And this part of the book there's a lot of filler. Like, again, this is, like, the third time she's kind of gone and saw him there, and there will be one more. But she gets the picture developed, and she shows her family, and there's nobody in the picture. So I guess whatever kind of monster he is, he doesn't show up on film. So, and then she starts going, well, that proves it, because I took his picture and he's not here, and it's just a picture of the desk. And the parents are like, okay, like, you need to stop. You need to stop with this. This is going to be too much. So again, she's just like, she gets mad at Aaron. She's like, hey, like, you said you would come, like, and, you know, we need to do this. So now we're going to go to his house. He'll be, you know, he's probably getting wary because he definitely knew I was at the library. So we need to catch him in his home because, you know, he'll think he's safe there and he will transform. So Aaron agrees and they go off. And they're just kind of like, you know, sneaking around his windows, and they get like a wheelbarrow to prop her up. At one point, she thinks that he sees her, and like basically falls off the wheelbarrow. But I think he's looking like his aquarium. And then he finally turns into a monster, and she starts crying for Aaron. She's like, Aaron, you know, get up here, get up here. Like, he's a monster. You can see him now. And she looks around, and Aaron's gone. And then she looks up, and he's definitely seen her. She falls off. She starts to run away. Aaron runs down the block, and he kind of catches her outside. And again, he's not... I think it's at the point, like, I don't know if he saw that it was necessarily her at the window. So he's just like, hey, like, what are you doing at my house? Like, what are you doing here? Because he's changed back to human now. And she just kind of plays up. It's like, oh, I'm going to be late to my Reading Ranger appointment tomorrow. I want to tell you. So he's very weary. I mean, at this point, you're pretty sure, like, he's got to know that it's her. And so, let's see. I'm trying to remember exactly what happens next. So she goes. She tries to get out of going to the meeting at all. And her mom's like, no, like, he's a nice guy. Like, just last week, you returned your bag. Like, you have to go to your Reading Ranger meeting. Stop talking about monsters. She goes, and he immediately locks her in. Oh, I'm getting things out of order. This is where, to get away this time, she knocks over the card catalog, which to me makes it worse because now he knows who it is and he wants to capture them, and he stops chasing her to get the card catalog because she is trapped. And when she escapes this time, she runs into Aaron, and Aaron is like, hey, I followed you and I saw him. I believe you now. He is definitely a monster. So now he goes and he tells Lucy's parents, and he's just like, Lucy's telling the truth. He is a monster. I don't know what to do with this. And Lucy's parents are like, wow, like, we should have believed you. So they're kind of like, okay, we're gonna handle this by inviting him to dinner. And Lucy's just like, what do you mean? Like, no, he's a monster. Like, get him out of here. Like, you know. And they're like, no, we're gonna be cordial. We're gonna talk to him. They invite him over, and they're just kind of talking to him, like, oh, you know, you've been so nice, and we just wanted to, you know, have you over. And a very kind of iconic ending to the book, where Mr. Mormon asks what they're going to have for dinner, and her dad says, you. And then both of her parents morph into monsters and devour Mr. Mormon. And so it turns out Lucy and her family are actually monsters. So they play it off as like, well, you know, you said he was a monster, but we had to be sure, and like, we need to eat him because, like, we can't have any more monsters in town. They could get found out. Like, he's obviously not being careful. And then you're shown that both Lucy and her brother Randy are both monsters as well. They just don't have their fangs yet. And that's kind of the end of the book, is they just eat Mr. Mormon and you find out that they're monsters. So let's start with some of the good things in this book. Again, I really like the atmosphere. I feel like Stein made a really good job of making the library very, very creepy, very scary. You know, like, he does a really good job of describing the monster and just making him very kind of grotesque, and how he eats the flies and the turtles is very gross. So from like a creepy standpoint, I think he does a good job. But where this book really falls flat is, and again, it's a retelling of The Boy Who Cried Wolf, is just the entire book is her seeing him 3 times the same location. Well, and then the last time she gets caught at the library, and then her telling people and no one believing her because she always does this, and then her getting very angry and upset about it. And so it's just kind of, the book's a little repetitive in that sense, which I think I could live with, you know, because like that's kind of the story. But I think the twist, while it's an okay twist, it ruins the rest of the story because I don't understand why her parents are so not believing of her. Like, it works in the sense where Randy is so scared of monsters because obviously he knows they exist. So now it makes a lot of sense that she's kind of obsessed with them because she is one. that Randy's scared of them because he is one, and knows their existence. But I feel like if we were monsters and we were trying to keep a very low profile, and the daughter comes home and she's like, "Oh, like I know I say a lot of monster stories, but like Mr. Mortman is one. I just saw him change." If I'm one of the parents, I'm sneaking down to the library the next night and checking for myself. Just the fact that they know monsters exist and it takes them so long to verify her story, and then they're like, "Oh, like we had to be sure." Like, well, you could have just gone and checked. Like it's been she's literally had 2 ranger meetings, which I think are like once a week. So it's been like 2 weeks, and you haven't bothered to verify if he's a monster or not. It just kind of falls flat there, and it kind of, again, it's one of those books that's not bad. It's got the creepy atmosphere, it's got a decent story, but the ending, even though I don't mind the twist, I feel like it pulls the threads of the rest of the story. So therefore, I'm giving this book a B. Not bad, not a bad story, but just kind of falls apart at the end. So, just reading my list now of what I ranked other ones. So, the only C we've had so far is Monster Blood, which I think is fair. I just think that one's kind of boring. And the other ones are Night of the Living Dummy, which I think, again, this book has a lot of the same issues. I feel like he wrote these two very close together, and they're kind of written very similarly. And Mummy's Tomb, which, again, very similar to this book, is a good story, great atmosphere, but there's just the twist at the end kind of pulls the thread of the entire story. Because, again, this one, while it's, has monsters, like it's not something that lives in the realm of real fears, it kind of plays up, it can be the thing of like just an adult that's kind of scary, and you're scared of them and whatnot, which is a very real fear. And, in the sense of the monster, like it's kind of built in the world that they exist, and that's fine. So that part doesn't really bother me. It's just the fact, I think it's just, it's a little repetitive. She's a little whiny throughout, and the parents not checking up on Mr. Mortman earlier, it doesn't make sense to me. That being said, this cover, again, I really like the purple in it. I think this red up here, it just kind of drawing your eyes there, it is really, really good. It really, when I'm reading it, that's like, they nailed what I think the characters look like, and I probably got it from the cover and kind of connected the two, but I think it's a really, really good representation of what they probably look like. It's got one of the creepier parts where he's eating the flies. So I think this book is an A. Again, I don't know what you could really do to make it go to an S for me, but it's not quite there. Got to be a little stingy on the S's. I think what's going to hurt ones as well is, ones like, because I've given both like Dead House and State of the Basement S's, and they're just so creepy. And this one, while it's good, it's not creepy enough, which just kind of keeps it an A. But I mean, it's hard to do that. Nothing wrong with an A. An A is pretty fantastic. So yeah, that's going to do it for this book. Again, a pretty good read. Not a bad book in any way. Like, I don't think any of them so far have been bad. Like Monster Blood's the only C, and even then, I enjoy the book. I just don't. I think it's a little, it's just not as great as work. They can't all be A's. They can't all be S's. They can't all be C's. So I feel like a lot of the books will live in the A to B range on both story and cover. Yeah, that's going to do it for this one. So next up, we will get to Welcome to Camp Nightmare. I've already got that written out, so hopefully I get out pretty soon. And I've read all the way up to The Ghost Next Door, which was a really fun read because it was the first book that I did not remember what happened. So it's the first one that I kind of went in a little blind. So I will get to those reviews soon, and I'll keep reading and getting these out.
Thanks for watching. Please click to check out my other videos, like and subscribe, and come by Twitch under Floyd Mason to join my live streams.